welcome to Season 1, Episode number 38 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches of 2020 with match number 13 on our list, which is the IWGP United States Championship match between champion Jon Moxley and the challenger Minoru Suzuki from the New Japan New Beginning in Osaka 2020 event held back on the 9th of February. This match was so cool because you essentially have, Moxley, the, lunatic fringe or whatever you want to call him, right? Having to go toe to toe with someone that seems like a legitimate lunatic in Minoru Suzuki. So you kind of have this really cool worlds colliding crazy person match that in a weird way almost, and maybe this is sacrilege, but almost, kind of feels like a Bruiser Brody versus Abdullah the Butcher sort of match, right? Where it's just these two wild men, from different areas, colliding and just to see who's nuttier in, this crazy wild brawl. And that's exactly what they did here, right? From the get-go, right? Moxley calls Suzuki up to the apron and, they both have a chair and they're, have dueling chair shots and they're throwing guardrails and throwing tables and making fans scatter and just all of this really cool stuff that's a little different for New Japan, the kind of real sports atmosphere it tries to present a lot of the time. So it was awesome. Also, shout out to Jon Moxley for wearing an eye patch during this match, selling, the angle that he was doing with Chris Jericho at the time in AEW. It was just really cool to see, him, sell that and bring that into another promotion. I thought that was awesome and a testament to how seriously he takes his craft. This match though was crazy. Like I said, it just felt totally reckless and wild. When they get in the ring, it didn't stop there. They're punching and forearming and biting, and Suzuki is mocking Moxley, with his weird little hand movements and stuff that he does, and Moxley is mocking Suzuki with his his tongue out and everything like that. And it was just so over the top and crazy, and I loved every single second of it. They ended up going back out onto the floor. And they had a table out there, and, Suzuki was just awesome and menacing, and he puts Moxley's arm through a chair, then lies it on the table and hits it with another chair, which was brutal. And then they did a spot off of that where, Suzuki went for that arm and locked into triangle choke while they were on the ring apron. And then Moxley, hulked him up and powerbombed him off the ring apron through the table, which looked awesome because, like I mentioned in the Suzuki-Ibushi match, Suzuki was lying there through a table that had this big goofy smile on his face, like he enjoys the pain. Speaking of enjoying the pain, he then proceeded to grab a piece of the broken table and hit himself over the head with it. And Moxley ended up doing the same. And just these two guys trying to prove, who is crazier. And it was this awesome, test of wills between the two to see who it was. They ended up back in the ring though, and it just, again, really cool stuff. With, they were doing a forearm exchange, and, Moxley, he's got the bad arm at this point, so he's using his left arm, and Suzuki's, saying, oh, hit me harder, hit me harder, hit me harder. Moxley being right-handed then has to use his bad arm while Suzuki baits him into it and, just further injures his arm. There was a spot where, Suzuki ended up grabbing his rear naked choke, which is one of his signatures, and they did a really good job just of selling that, like, Moxley is too crazy and too stubborn to submit or tap out or quit, right? So Suzuki ends up having to instead go for a pin from it for a good near fall. At the end, though, as they're getting into this, they did, a counter sequence where Moxley, countered the Gotch powerbomb into the Death Rider for a 2 count. And then the match just goes into its finishing sequence where Moxley kind of, kisses Suzuki on the head, which, I couldn't imagine doing that to Minoru Suzuki. He would kill you. But he does that, and he brings in 2 chairs into the ring and basically says, let's finish what we started at the start of the match up on the ramp. The referee gets bumped. Moxley hits a sick chair shot on Suzuki, and he no-sells it and sticks his tongue out again, which again was just a great visual. He hits the Death Rider on the chair, and then just in a kind of cool bit of a juxtaposition, he kind of encourages Suzuki to keep fighting, right? And much like how Suzuki baited him into using the bad arm, he's like, come on, like keep fighting, you're Minoru Suzuki, like let's do this thing. But it's all for nil. He ends up hitting him with one more Death Rider for the 3. Post match, there was a really good attack by Zack Sabre Jr. On Moxley, which I'd completely forgotten about when I rewatched this match. 2020 was a really long year, and that's a one-on-one match I would love to see, so I really hope we get that at some point and they pay that off. But this match is a standalone. It's just very different than a lot of what you see in New Japan. It was a really cool, I'll call it kind of a dream match. Like I said at the start of the video, both of these guys did such an amazing job. It's just a really fun match, and it one of the most fun matches of 2020. It doesn't go very long, and it just has this wild feeling to it, and it's just an absolute joy to watch. You can watch it on New Japan World. I please ask that you subscribe to the channel here on YouTube and follow on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50, and join me again tomorrow as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50.